We are
live. Okay. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of The Director, which, as we're moving through this, I should have renamed to something like The Chase, the Director episode, The Chase, the setup. But whatever. We're going with Director. So I am joined today by Alberto Arenas in Spain. Hi, Alberto.
Hey, hello everyone. Hello, Dave.
Hello.
Nice to be here.
Thank you. Nice to have you. And the illustrious Markom 3D is busy setting up his live stream, because what we're going to do today is we're going to do the simulcast again, where Marco's going to be streaming on his channel, and Alberto and I are going to be streaming on my channel here. And so what you can do is, yeah, let me jump around to make it as confusing as possible. So Alberto and I are going to be we had some big brainstorm sessions this week, excuse me, and we have restructured the project in a similar way. You know, the workflow, the pipeline is similar as last week, but it's different, and it's different enough that we're going to talk through what we did and some of the awesome things Alberto did to make variants and variant sets, so we can go through and toggle buildings and make them whatever we want, display or render, proxy or render, whatever. And then so we're going to talk about that. But while we're doing that, Marko is actually going to be in the actual stage, and he's going to be actually doing the layout. So he's going to be adding buildings, adding items to the sequencer, making those work, and getting the stage set up for a basic layout so we can review when we're done. Alberto and I are done talking about what we've done. We can come back in and we can join this collaborative stage and then show you how what we've done is valuable to the USD workflow and the flexibility that it offers in terms of, you know, making changes, how those changes propagate back to their source layers, and things like that. So it's going to be really fun. I'm excited. I'm a little too excited. I need to calm down because this is a growth thing, right? Like you start at USD, and I've been using USD now in my third year, but for the first probably year and a half, I was just doing like I did traditionally, and I put stuff in the stage, and you can make stuff happen that way. It's really great. Okay, Marko must be introducing himself. It's really great to do it that way. And you can make something work. Like all the demos you've seen that I made up until probably a year ago are done that way. And then I started learning USD and started learning how, when you structure it the right way, you can make some magic happen. And then Alberto joined, and now we supercharged that magic, and that's what we're going to show you today. So I guess at some point Marko's going to pop in here and start chatting.
Oh,
hey, welcome.
I am here. It's okay. Just I can't stream my camera to two different streams, if you know what I mean.
I hear you.
Oh, yep.
Okay. So what's the solution there?
So I think I might not stream on my channel just yet.
Okay.
And I might just work in the background, and you can pop over and say hi whenever you want. But I can continue to listen to you and learn as well, because the stuff that you're doing is just mind-boggling.
Yes, it's mind-melting and boggling. So okay, so let me just line you out then before we hand it over to Alberto. So you see this stage, right, that we have, and we have a building, and then we have some other assets here, and you know, depending on what you need, it's going to be in that folder system. I'm going to go ahead and just create a live session on the root layer for you to join. That live session is called live stream. All right. How's that?
Slowly coming.
Okay. You should be able to join it.
Okay.
And again, for anyone who's new here, Marko is in Australia. Alberto's in Spain. I'm in the US, and we're going to be showing this live global collaboration. And it's that in and of itself is pretty amazing. But yeah, okay. So there's Marko flying around right there. So Marko, you go to town, just follow the guidelines there. You don't put a building in the street and stuff like that. You know what to do. I don't need to give you silly explanations like that. All right. So good luck, man. Okay, Alberto.
Yep.
Why don't you kind of walk us through a little bit about our discoveries of this week?
Okay, let's do that. So first thing before you kill me, I'm going to take my layer.
That's right.
Out of the stage, and we can
right.
see both worlds at the same time.
That was a close one. That was a close one.
Yeah, sweating it. Okay, so what we're going to talk today is a little bit about how we go from a scene that is being created in a brainstorm session, like the one I had a couple of streams ago, where you open a USD and you start dropping all the components of the location where you're going to shoot, right? So you start bringing the terrain, so you remember that Dave got in and put, InfoWorks satellite pictures of the location, and they started, dropping their buildings and putting together very quickly a location, and then adding cars and adding the characters and everything, right? That's great. That's sometimes, so not sometimes, always in the beginning, you need that freedom to be able to open a USD, start throwing everything there, laying it out and say, yeah, this is it. This is what we're going to shoot. This is Trenton Main Street. That's where we're going to do our sequence, right? But it comes a point into a project when you want to add more people to that project and collaborate. You want to start reusing your assets, other things that are not just rapid prototyping and quickly conveying your ideas into 3D start to be as important as that, right? And that's when you start looking into, okay, how I'm going to organize all those assets, how I'm going to break it down, how we're going to divide things in components and pieces, so then I can maximize the amount of people that can work on those things together. I can also reuse, and I can make basically that thing at a scale, and not huge scale. There's a little bit more scale than just one army. Okay. So what we're doing here is just looking into best practices and things that have been learned for years and years in the animation feature industry, VFX industry, I would say episodic animation. And here we're not bringing all of it. We're just tackling to the basics. And what I'm going to show you is what we've been doing to break down that scene into something more manageable, right? So the first thing you're going to see is here we are in a Nucleus folder. And we created this repository. This is the repository where we can put all our data and our information in order to shoot that sequence, okay? So the first thing that we divide our assets our whatever we're going to produce is into assets and sequences, right? Assets is, in this case, everything that we need in order to shoot story, right? So before we start talking about how we're going to tell the story, we need to say, okay, what do we need to shoot this chase? So we're going to need characters, right? We're going to need a location to shoot. And then because our location is too big, we're going to break down the location into sets, and then we're going to break the sets into props. Okay, so everything looks super abstract, and now I'm going to start getting into something more tangible for everyone here. So what do I mean with the prop? Okay, so the idea here is that a location, right, that is seen is huge. It's really unmanageable. We ended up with one terrain, more than 20 buildings all over the place. When we're trying to change that scene that is too big, it's difficult to say, identify the buildings, the first is we're going to break down the buildings into folders, and what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, let's first building. We're going to put a large apartment complex. It's something that probably you want to do a little bit of naming convention, not too big, not too crazy, but maybe to very quickly identify buildings. Use these 4 letters. Then you identify if the building is large, small, or medium, and then
so,
a little
Alberto,
bit about yes. There you go.
This is awesome for example purposes.
Yes.
And due to the rapid prototyping and the time gap between us all, and your your workday schedule, I have moved all of the buildings into the buildings folder, but the structure is the same as what you have here. So I wanted to let you know that. So if you wanted to jump into there, you could. But everything's cool. You're doing great. Keep going.
Okay. So what you're gonna see is that at the end of the day, what I wanna is to have instead of having a huge one USD scene with all of it, I want to break it down into pieces so I can deconstruct it. So the first thing I'm going to deconstruct is the basic elements, which are buildings. So we go to props, we create a folder for each of the buildings, show you a little bit of nomenclature. And then one thing that is important is when we are managing this type of assets, it's good to have 2 types of meshes, right? We want a render mesh, which is this thing that we're going to see here, which comes with all the beauty of, high quality meshes, high quality materials, right? And what's happening here is that I'm going all the way to Nucleus, telling him, hey, bring me all this beauty, and it's just loading. Okay. I thought my cache should be up to
Yeah,
it's might not be. Anyways, this is
the progress bar on the bottom is.
Yeah.
And
be.
It's the live stream gods. It's the live stream gods punishing me for
No,
something that I've done.
No, you didn't do anything. Okay. So while this is happening, what I'm telling you is here, in the beginning, remember when we built the scene in rapid prototyping mode, we had only the high quality mesh with all the materials all there. When you started to break down your scene, you want to be a little more conscious that sometimes you're going to need to work in an environment where you don't need that much quality, and you just need a display mesh that allow you to work quickly and do quick edits and things like that, right? And sometimes you want to have these beautiful detail materials will pop up, right? As you see
Alberto,
here, when I loaded.
Did it load? Did it load? Because I took over the share.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
No, it's loaded. Okay. So what you see here is the structure that we want for a building, right? We want to have one and only X form, right? This is the what helps us to position our building. Okay, it's a specific position on the what we call the bottom left front side of our building, right? If we do that on all our assets, it's going to be super simple to position it in the street, right? Because this is always going to be the side that is, facing the street. Okay, so this is important, as your pivot. Then we want to have a looks scope where we can have all the materials that are, and all this geometry here is going to try to find, is going to be bounded to materials here, right? So as long as we bring all our materials here and we put all our meshes under this geo, this is great because we will be bringing this building as a reference.
Right.
And the good thing about,
it's important to note also that if you look over in your layer panel, if you collapse the geom top node there, that the data in this scene is actually brought in through layers. So if you expand that sublayer, you're going to see we have the source that came in from 3ds Max, and then the material over that contains the master materials for our project.
Yeah.
So that's the data you look at. You're actually looking at links. This is a web page, and you're looking at links.
Yes, and And what is interesting we're doing here, just the magic of USD, right, is that you're going to be in this situation multiple times. You're editing your DCC, the 3 Studio Max, the Mayas, the Houdinis, whatever tool you're using to create this beauty, might export in USD in a format that you're not interested, that you don't want for your project. Okay, it's bringing, they might create like a world, and then they will create sublayers, and each have sublayers, and they will have too much complexity. Okay, and what you want for your project is one Xform, all the meshes here, and a looks folder. So what we've been doing is we've done that in our root layer. So as you see here, there is a lot of overrides that I've done to be able to have this structure. So I'm loading this layer that has a structure that I didn't decide. It was 3D Studio Max who decided this structure. And then here is the file, is the USD file where I completely change it on the way I need it, which is one Xform, one look scope with all my materials and all my meshes. Okay.
So we conform it to our project standards.
Exactly. And you will see later why we want to do it this way. Okay. And then all my buildings will have always like a geom default prim at the top, meshes and looks. And if I do this way for all my buildings, I bring uniformity, I will have all my access in a uniform way, which will allow me later to implement automations to manage this. Okay.
Exactly.
So what you see here is the render mesh, right? And if we go back to our folder structure in Nucleus, we have also the display mesh, which is something that also Dave Turner authored, which is just putting all the bounding boxes of all those meshes together and put it and then combine it in one mesh. And here we've done the same thing. Our dear friend 3D Studio Max decided to export it this way. Great. This, you always can change this, but there's always going to be some limitation, right? And what we do is we bring it here as a layer, and then we add all these edits, all these overrides to be able to get it to the structure we want, which is geom proxy locator, Xform, and the building with the mesh. And here we don't have any look scope because we don't have materials. We just want simple color to represent it in the most efficient way. Okay.
And that now, I should say that that's ugly, and it should give a little more clarity as to what that is. But I ran a script that quickly grabbed the bounding boxes and then did an export. So if you're looking at that saying that's a crappy proxy mesh, it sure is, but it was automatic, and we're just doing it to prove a point here.
You're right. And the idea is that imagine that we would like to simulate this object. We will add another folder here, and we will put the simulation mesh, right? So my asset, which at the end of the day is a building, I want to have different ways to represent it. For render, for display, for simulation, right? And you want to save it there. And what you want to do when you create your building apartment is to use this beautiful thing that is the variant in USD, right? So if I'm here, okay, and I'm going to use also this GUI here where we can show the variants right away on our stage. What I have here, okay, is I have an automation that goes to all these folders, okay? It's assuming that all these stages are being formatted in a way that I told you, right? One Xform with name geom and geom display, and the other will be geom simulation, right? And it goes through all of them and creates one Xform here that is a payload. Sorry, it's a variant. Has a geom display variant. So I can go here and say, show me the display version, or show me the render. So I could toggle this wherever I bring this asset, okay? If it's in a in a street block or in my a scene, it will have this ability, and I could go through the whole scene and change the geom display variant to whatever I want. Okay, so if I want to change the whole scene to display, I will, and if I want to put it in render, and imagine if we want to access the variant for simulation, we could do that and put all the simulation things.
Okay. So I'm going to pause you there, Alberto. Marko?
Yes.
This is looking amazing. And now...
Do you want me to share my screen or...
Not yet. Now Sweet. We want you to put the people in the car. Like the buildings, we're just doing that, the one main street. We don't have to go all the way down the block there.
Okay.
Okay.
Wait.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. So now variant sets.
Yes. So now we have our building, and as you see, we got a couple of steps, of not complexity, but administrative process. If you compare, grab the building from 3D Max, drop it into USD, position in the scene. Yeah, we're here doing a couple of steps, creating two different meshes, exporting it from 3D Max, changing the structure of our USD, and we would call these like our folder structure, but the tree, right? To conform with what I need, and then a little bit of an automation that we combine this into a variant that have this functionality. Okay, so we will do that for all our props of buildings. So we did that for the theater. So if I load this building large theater, okay, you will see a similar setup. Okay, so we have here the theater, and if I want to see the display, there you go.
Let's just show the variants of the variants.
Yes.
From here.
Yeah. So the idea now is that we have all these buildings. Now we can do another prop, which is what we call a building large variant. So we can combine all those buildings, okay, into one asset. We're going to call large buildings, okay. And when we go here to that large building, okay, we are adding another layer of variants, which the first one will be the GM component. We can choose, I want an arcade, or I want bowling alley. And I think what's going to happen now is going to try to load all that beautiful thing. And then if I want to see it in display, I will click here, I'll do this display. So here, as you see, we have all those components that we put together of large, small, medium, and now we can choose which one we want. So you're starting to see the logic, right? This is the asset that we're going to drop in our street block, and thanks to all these little steps that we've done to decompose them and then put it together as variants, it will allow us to select which building and which display mode we want, and add that flexibility. Okay.
And that's amazing because I only have to bring in one asset, and that one asset is actually 10, 20, 30, 40 assets, or depending, however we want to break it up. You see, I combined large, medium, and small in my haste, but we'd want to probably break that up. But anyway, I'm going to show you in the stream here how that translates into our stage. So Marko has started with one building, like you saw earlier, and now he has a whole bunch of different buildings set up, and all he's doing is he's duplicating the building, changing the variant, duplicating the building, changing the variant. And so quickly and easily, we have a way to create a randomized stage. My colleague, Kevin Sprout, shout out Kevin Sprout, actually wrote a really cool extension that will just randomize variants for you on a stage. So I'm not going to do it right now, but we could do it. And all of this to say that we're creating scalability here, and sorry, the point escaped me as I'm looking at this stage, but we're creating these in a very scalable way, and because of the way that we're setting it up, we can easily go back and we can add more buildings to the stage Alberto has open here. there. And then when we add those buildings, they're just going to show up in our main stage. So theoretically, if we added another building in this stage, then immediately Marko would see it in his stage, and he'd be able to have access to whatever, new variant is available in the set. So pretty amazing up to this point. And please continue, Alberto.
Okay. So the other thing, let's say we're decomposing things here. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the repository, and we're starting with the props, with those atomic components, which are buildings. That's the smaller component. We're gonna break down our main string. But still, if we put all those buildings all over the main street, and we ended up with 20 of them, it's going to be very difficult to say, hey, change the gas station over there and here. And so we create another, we break down the location in another component, which is a set. Okay, so you will see here that we have props and we have sets. So a set is an assembly of props, okay? And a location is an assembly of sets and props. So the thing that we're doing is breaking down our set into street blocks, okay? And the street blocks, as I told you, is an assembly. It's just a placeholder where we bring components from the props and build our street blocks. So a street block is going to be composed of buildings and a street block plots. I'm going to show you just the plot isolated. And in here, you're going to see that we do the same thing, right? We want to have just one X-form, all them is at the same level. And we're just placing this in the right area of the USD stage, okay? So it will land on the right place on the terrain. That it will help us to build the set in a structured way. So then when someone says, I want to change I don't like the gas station. Oh, the gas station where? In the street block 1. Oh, that one. Okay, perfect. Right? And that's what we're going to call sets. So if I open a set, okay, a street block, okay, what you're going to see here is, and it will load eventually, it's just an assembly. And when you come here, you will see the wall, you will see an environment, and you will see that we brought here, okay.
Under environment and Trenton downtown. There you go.
Okay. And this is something that we've been testing out, and this is something that we will explain later, right? Remember that we, in our props, we want to define our props in a way that they don't know where they're going to be placed, okay? So you remember they only have one locator. The locator is geom, and then when we combine in a variant, the locator is the name of the building, right? So when you bring it into a scene as a reference, okay, what you see is what you see here is, you see the plot and you see a large building, and that's the only thing we want to show here in the stage. However,
and just to clarify on that, you reference it in as a payload, because payloads and references are two different things, and I don't want to confuse that term. So we reference that stage in as a payload.
Yeah, but we just need to understand that reference and payload is exactly the same. The difference between the reference and a payload is that payload loads the data that is referenced in a lazy mode. Okay, when you bring something as a reference, it will load instantly. The moment you open the stage, go to the reference, load it in memory. When you have a payload, you have a way to configure it. I just say don't load it. Only load it if I want it, when I need it. And that will help you in terms of the scalability. So usually there is a rule of thumb that if a USD is heavy and you define heavy, whatever you want, there are certain shows that they say more than X gigabyte, more of this megabytes, then you always bring it as a payload, right? So you can choose when to load it. If it's small thing, usually as a reference. no matter what. What is important here is that a set is an assembly. If I wanted to look into this USD file, you will see that there is no data. There are only pointers. There is only this structure here, world, environment, Trenton, this folder structure. You want to see it, not a folder structure, right? But just as an analogy, right? And then pointers to these props. So all the data is in the props, okay? Here, there's only pointers to whatever you want to bring here. And the idea is that we're keeping the street blocks now very simple. We don't want to make it complex for now because we want to iterate until we find the right structure. But the idea is that you will be bringing more large building variants,
yeah. And
you will populate this one. Okay.
And we're gonna show here in a minute how we can transfer that data from the stage that we're actually doing the layout in back into the source stage because of how we structured this. So
yeah.
That's awesome. And then what else you got, Alberto?
No, that's it. The only thing that is important to see is that if you structure components and variants, you have that availability to choose whatever you want here in whatever you bring it as a reference of a payload.
Exactly.
Okay, so that will bring you that flexibility. So that extra work that we did, it's worth it, right?
Yeah, and now it enables us to automate the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly, because this will be composed and will show up whenever we bring the set as well. Okay, so now, as I said, we are decomposing, or how you say, decomposing that big location that we put together into components. Buildings is our props, street blocks is our sets, and finally, right, so we have three or four sets, we can build our location, which is another assembly, right? Where we're going to shoot? We're going to shoot in Trenton downtown, right? That's why we call it that way. We open here, okay? As you see here, we also created one specific data that is of a location, that is the terrain, and you will see later as another.
I'm sharing my screen right now.
Okay, so we were debating about. So then maybe we can explain it there, right? But again, what you see there in Dave's is all put together in a location, right? So we have, I guess, 3 street blocks, right? And those street blocks have different buildings,
Marko.
all those variants, and we've been choosing which one goes best. And
exactly. And now, because it's set up this way, now we can collaborate in this aggregated stage that has a whole bunch of these buildings that Marko's been adding, and all the other data that is structured very similarly to what you saw for the buildings. We don't have variants on them yet, but the process is the same. So when you look at USD, you might think, hey, this seems redundantly redundant, right? There's a whole bunch of extra USD files, and looks like you're only really using 3 of them, but everyone has a purpose, and everyone is touchable by a discipline to make it a truly non-destructive workflow without disrupting the stage in which they're all linked. And I can show you a graph about that here in a few, but I wanted to show you the progress that Marko has, and Marko's made, and I've added a dome light here. And Marko, let's see. So Marko, you've gone through, and I've been watching my sequencer grow as you've been adding stuff. So you've added the animated car, which is a physics vehicle that I baked, and then you created these 2 awesome characters that are now going to be occupying the driver's seat. Is that right?
Yes. So if you go to frame 720, how do you parent the people to the car?
Ah, good. Okay. So I'll just show that. And I should note, first of all, Alberto, thank you very much for that explanation. And it's working in this project now feels like I have supreme confidence in what we can do and how we can achieve our goal of capturing director's notes and then pushing them back into the source stages that they came from. Because as you said, it's all links, right? A lot of it is just links to files. And how do you set it up in such a way that so those notes can propagate back to the source artist? So, all right. So how do you parent to a vehicle?
Make sure you go to frame 720 because they're lined up.
Oh, well, okay.
Okay.
720. Then I'm going to go to 720. You just over here in the actors. Yeah. And then grab your characters. Yeah. And then you can just grab Hero Christian and Hero Douglas. And why is there a folder for Hero Douglas already?
Yeah, I tried to move him in already, but then he didn't parent. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
Because you're oh man, it's busted. You didn't move the payload. You moved the no, because you can't move anything out of a payload. All right, I don't understand. Anyway, you just grab the characters here, and you should be able to parent them. Oh, I see what you did. Okay, so the physics vehicle is interesting, and this is a good point because I should probably fix this in one of the overlayers that we can restructure the file or the stage that way. But you just grab them and then parent them to the vehicle, like so. And now, yeah, it's all good. And now, let's see, probably got to zero them out too because they are. Where's the car? Oh, the car's over there. What? Vehicle. Okay. Because we're at frame 720. So let's go back. And you can see them. They're over there. They're over here now. So what you're probably going to have to do is just zero them out to the car.
You're not live. Are you live?
I'm live, buddy. Oh, what a... Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not live. I'm not live because, of course, the gods of live stream made it so I couldn't open this stage after I'd been working in it all day. And so I just opened a new stage, dragged it as a layer, and joined your session so I could see what's going on. And now that I'm making changes, they're not propagating, which is probably why you don't see my dome light. So just follow what I did. Grab those two payloads, drag them in under vehicle, and then zero them out, and then they'll align to what you're trying to do there. So I'm going to go to my handy dandy backup machine here, and I'm going to open your stage. Okay, so that's awesome. That's an awesome example of how working with layers can, if you're not paying attention, can bite you a little bit. All right, so I'm going to join your session from here. This is shout out my son Christian. I politely asked him, "Hey man, I need your computer as a backup in case things go sideways today," and so then I'm on his machine, and so now I'm just
family to the rescue.
That's right. Yes, exactly. Actually, I just made him do at least 2 hours worth of chores, so I knew I was free to get this going. All right. Okay. So this is great. And Marko.
Yeah.
Interestingly, you're working in the live stream?
I am working on live stream.
Yeah. Your session is called live stream?
I believe so. Yes. Let me just check in layers. Session is live stream. Yes, it is.
Okay. That's super cool. There it is. Okay. So so as Marko's been working, dropping things into the sequencer down here, I can see them update. And so what we have is, and this is also another really important thing, is this purpose of this stage is so that we can make a decision about different things, about cameras, about timing of clips, speed of the car, and the assets, and the position of the people, and what they do and what they say, and when they say it, and any kind of effects that we have going on. So, Marko, why don't you drag in one of the? Are you still working with the passengers?
Yeah, that's good enough. Yeah, beautiful. Okay.
All right. So make your asset track and then drag in the effects. You're going to want mesh explosion small, Just drag that guy on in here. Because we got the car, right? The car is least on its right.
Yeah.
So there it goes.
FX mesh. Let's go.
Do it.
Okay, let's go.
I'm gonna start hiding all of these ugly things. So street block 3 plot, street block 3 plot, and street block 3 1 plot. Okay, so now we don't have any of that to deal with. I'm going to also add a dome light here so we can pretty this up a little bit. Create light, dome light. Good. So that's already looking better. If I switch to path trace mode, it's going to look even better. And unfortunately, Alberto can't join us this time because of a small GPU problem, pun intended. And
a small GPU.
Yeah. But we're working on a way to resolve that one. So, okay, so cool. So Mark is bringing in the explosions, and I am just grabbing a skylight here. And the reason I don't click on the environment tab is because I need this dome light to filter back down follow our folder structure and filter back down into the dome light. So that, and then Table Mountain is always a good one to start with, and we'll change that later. Okay, so that's good. All right, awesome. And let's see, you haven't added those to the sequencer yet. That's fine. So basically, why don't you add them to the sequencer, and I'll scoot them around.
Si, senor. Okay, let's go. I'm just going to go add.
I like it. Spanish. Shall we?
¿Cómo está?
Muy bien, Marco.
Sí.
I try to have Spanish conversations with Alberto, and I always think I'm cool because I can say a sentence, and then he replies with 2 sentences, and I have no idea. I'm like, sí. All right.
Sí. Yeah, that's a good approach. Always yes. Okay, guys. So just for me to understand what's going on here. Okay.
Yeah.
So you both are in the same root layer session, right? And you're right now. There's an animation, and Marco is the one who's gonna kind of make the decision of timing the attacks, right? Is that?
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. So you both are, staging the animation of this sequence together.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So what I've done is I've added these little static explosions because the last thing we need is a high resolution VDB asset in here in order to make a decision, right? We need something that is going to be, represent it. We can get timing, size, all a bunch of information that, what does despacito mean?
Yeah, slowly.
Oh.
Slowly.
Okay. Well, all right.
Sorry, just quickly. Where's the animation for the explosion?
It's underneath the I didn't save it. Okay, whatever.
No, whatever.
We'll skip that part. But essentially, yeah. So I must not have saved it, but these things were exploding. But anyway, but now we can place them. We can know where the explosions are. We can add the scale of them later. That's totally fine. And but it's just enough for us to make a decision. We can add cameras and lights and all the things that we want to make the stage go. And if I look down here at the car, yeah.
Was I putting the buildings in the wrong spot?
What do you mean?
Donkey. Well, no, because I remember us talking during the week. We start the animation at frame 200.
Yeah.
And the car's all the way back here. And like an idiot, I was doing the rest of the street.
Oh, yeah, right. Exactly. That's why I told you.
That's why you told me to stop. Yeah.
Like
Well done, Marko. Good job.
Going a little mad. Yeah. So Marko made these awesome characters here that we placed in, we gave them names and we placed them in the car. If I just slide the dome light around here, we'll be able to see these guys are clearly brothers, I'm thinking. and so they're escaping the drone. They're escaping the drone and doing some acting in the car. So what we're going to do in a future stream, hopefully with the director, is Marko's going to be live in his motion capture suit, doing his facial motion capture and physical motion capture for the director in the car. So the director can say, yeah, at this time, I want you to do that. And at that time, I want you to do that. And that's amazing. And we're cutting out a whole bunch of fat out of the process of, how does the actor translate what the director wants them to do in a way where, when they're remote and we're working in a situation like this, we can make that decision super quick, super easy. And that's another beautiful aspect of Omniverse. There's so many. Omniverse is so awesome and big. And that's one of the things we can do. We can do live acting for a director who's located across the world. So at this point, Marko, why don't you just keep rocking with that? Maybe add some cameras. Would be cool. There's cameras in the camera folder.
Yeah.
All right. And then I just want to share this. Okay. So kind of jumping back into the diagram here, we're using payloads and we're using layers often. How do I get this over here? Get that over there so we can see them both. And when thinking about this, like, it helps to know, when to use a payload and when to use a layer, and that those decisions aren't arbitrary to just how you're feeling about a certain thing that day. And so if we kind of dig down and see the composition of our layout stage here, I have a master layer for every discipline that's going to be touching this. And then underneath that, though, are sublayers and more sublayers. And sometimes those sublayers contain payloads. But there's a reason that we're setting it up this way for the layers. But going back to here, so when to use a payload for your base assets, like coming from the DCC, that's kind of automatic. That just happens. For pipeline gates, so if we look at my car here, and this is sort of the workflow of getting the physics vehicle that you saw Marko playing with there, getting it out of Sketchfab, which was its source, through 3ds Max, and then all the USDs I create along the way, right? And I won't bother explaining what each one does, but each one is a necessary step in the process to keep this thing separate enough so that I can touch any one of these stages at any time, whether I'm the modeler or the material person or the rigger or the simulator. I can touch each one of these stages at any time, picking up a note for whatever reason, and that those changes that I make are then going to propagate automatically back up the stack, and we're just going to see them in the collaborative environment. So when you ask why are there 7 USD stages to make up a single car, that's why. So we can keep it. What's the word I'm looking for, Alberto?
What? Keep it what?
I wasn't listening.
Keep it what?
No, so we can keep it scalable. So we can keep it collaborative. So we can keep the project moving, and we're never waiting on someone to do something so that we can do something else.
Yes. I mean, wait a minute. So you're talking about the decision between layers and reference. So you have certain information, the data you want to bring into your scene. Yeah. And it's saved in a USD that is, well organized. That's right. And then you need to choose when you're going to bring it into the shooting scene, because we need to understand right now we're in the sequence. Okay. This is the sequence scene. Yes. Right? And the sequence scene is where we're trying to bring all the elements that we need to tell this story. Right. So it is true. When you bring it here, you need to choose. You want to bring it as a sub layer, or you want to bring it as a reference or payload. Yeah. Okay. When you bring it as a reference or payload, you're assuming that you need to place it in the right location in your folder structure, right?
That's
and
right.
in a certain way is encapsulated. It's not, you're not supposed to edit that, right? That thing has been done by someone that is not you, like a modeler building the building. And if you something need to be changed on that, you need to talk to that person and say, "Hey, I need to change that." You're not supposed to edit it here.
Exactly.
You can add your
sure,
opinion on top of that.
Yeah.
But you're not meant to author it. Okay.
Correct.
In this scene, when you bring it as a sublayer, you bring that possibility.
Mm-hmm.
You can be working on this sequence scene. You're bringing that data that is a location or a character but you want to edit it. You want to author it in context. If you need to author it in context, then you bring it as a sublayer, and that is the beauty. You can click on that layer and say author it, and you can create a live section with someone and work on it, and you're going to see it in context.
Precisely. Okay? So
there's always a trade-off, right? When you do that, when you can bring it as a sublayer, you expose everything.
Exactly. And so kind of my methodology here for the car was to say, okay, once the car is fully assembled, it's ready to drop in the stage. I don't necessarily want to drop in the car layer, right? Because I want that to be gated here, and it's going to be gated by being a payload as opposed to a layer. And that way, if there's a change to the car, the whoever is in charge of making sure the car is right can look at that change and then assign whatever tasks they need downstream to whoever needs to do it. And these people just aren't picking up notes without context around what they are. So that's kind of why I get, and this is kind of new for me. I usually just go layers all the time, layers. But I think this is good that we gate it at the end of the asset so that we can, when we have our review sessions internally, we can see what the notes are and then assign whoever needs to pick them up. So so that's a pipeline gate. Prims that don't need layers like animations. So for example, in this animation layer, I'll just expand that. I have the character animations. Now those don't need to be layers inside of this USD file. So I just bring them in as payloads, and that way they come in the stage as payloads, and I don't have to worry about them being layers because that really doesn't make sense to me to have them that way. Creating pipeline functions like variants and variant sets that you inherit changes downstream. So as you saw, Alberto showed a great example of that with the variants for the buildings, and we can do that with anything. And that's kind of the thing, is that the whole project structure in itself is like a program, and the way we set it up, we can create functions on the different folder systems that do different things. And we have the variant sets, but we can do that with any asset. This car could be 8 different kinds of cars, and so long as the the wheelbase, well, actually it doesn't even matter. I could re-rig depending on what the car needs to be, but I can toggle through variants of the car and keep the animation because the rig hierarchy is the same, which is pretty kick butt. And then when to layer, live collaboration, stacking component stages of props like you saw down here, right? I'm just stacking my stages, and each one inherits the last one. Each one inherits the last one. And then stacking prop stages. So when this is I should just put the aggregation of the data, which is what this is. So all of these layers are composed of sublayers, and some of those sublayers have sublayers, and some have payloads, and that's just the way we designed it. And then stage tree organization. This should be bold, highlight, exclamation point, caps. Okay, because what you might find as you go through working in USD, if you try to do it the way that you've always done it, you're going to find that, when you have, say there weren't any root folders and there was no organization, like this thing would be a mile long by the end with stuff, and it would be really hard to find stuff. And even if we decided that we would, okay, let's start organizing, and we start parenting and creating scopes and X forms that we're dragging things into, that's not going to really work, because any changes we make to this stage are not going to propagate downstream, because now we've changed the path to the prim in the stage. And so when we capture the deltas, which you can see, we've captured a whole bunch of deltas here. When we capture those deltas, they're going to be to the wrong path. And so if we set this up the right way, and so they won't really matter in the next phase of what I'm about to show you, that we will cross our fingers and know that it works and that the gods of live stream are with us. So, but that's why this is set up in a very specific way, and it does take some thinking about. And then my man Chris Horvath, who shared the flowchart. I will share the flowchart when we get it into a place that we're comfortable doing it. So complicated things are complicated. Sometimes complicated things are complicated. In your journey into USD, you are going to be forced to learn USD if you want to continue. And it's a different animal. And I say it all the time. I say it in different streams. It's a different animal, and you're going to have to learn how it works. And that's kind of what we're trying to show you, but you can see what it unlocks when you do it. And it's, I mean, I just got to be straight with you. It takes bending your mind around, getting out of the way you used to do things and into the USD way. But what it unlocks for you is this ultimate scalability, ultimate flexibility. You throw a nucleus in there on a cloud server, and then you're collaborating with people across the globe 24/7, and you're live streaming in from your I could go on forever about the benefits and the sexy parts of this, because those things are so cool, and we're trying to show you those. But the reality is, getting far in this, learning USD is going to help you a lot. And so that's part of what we're trying to convey here too, is we're trying to show you pretty, but also show you how we got there and why we got there, why we did what we did to get here. And knowing the why in USD is super, super important. Okay, so I know we're over time, but I'm going to show you this next thing because I think it's super cool. No, not because I think it's super cool, because it's super valuable. Because now what we've done is you saw the stage basically empty, devoid of things. And now we've taken this stage and we've added all this stuff to it, right? All this stuff, all these buildings and the cars and da-da-da. And all of these prims, all of these assets belong on another layer. They don't belong here. We want to see the aggregation of these things, but we're here just to make a decision about what we like, right? And so, but we want to be able to capture that decision, and we want to be able to push it back to the file that it's supposed to live in. Sorry, the stage that it's supposed to live in. And so otherwise, what we're doing is we're opening up this stage and we're looking at our stage and we're like, okay, there's a bowling alley, and then there's a convenience store and a gas station and a thing and an explosion there. We've already made the decision. We've already captured the data. Why would we have to go through and be redundant and do it again? So what I'm going to do here, and I won't say that Alberto's working on ways to automate this, but I won't say it either. So I can select the layer here, and I right click on it. And I'm going to say save a copy, and I'm going to go to, let's go to there, and then sessions, and I'm going to do layout review live stream. Let's save that. So now what I've done is I've captured all the changes in its own USD file and put it on the server, so that when I click on here, and let's say buildings 01, building block, I want to go down to the root layer. Yeah, overridden. Gotcha. Tell you what, why don't we just do that so I don't have to see that anymore. And we're going to come to the folder system here, and that's in repository. Oh, this is, see, the way Alberto described all this and restructured everything, I'm still kind of learning where things are. But where would that building block be? Probably in a set, right? Yeah. So building block 1. And so I have my new stage here, and I'm going to take my street block 01, and I'm going to drag it in as a layer. Okay, and I can see that indeed it contains world, environment, Trenton downtown, street block, and then these things. And by the way, this isn't a perfect process yet, but you'll get the gist. And then I'm going to come down to my sessions layer here. I'm going to say layout review live. Oh, let me get to where you can see it and turn on the lights. There it is. And if you recall, this is exactly where we started. So I'm going to point out again, we've been working non-destructively. We haven't been pushing to this layer because we don't want to push to this layer. We want to change this stage intentionally. Marco's laughing at me.
No.
Okay. And so when I do that, what happened? Okay. So yes. So this is exactly how it's supposed to look. You're like, that doesn't look right. But this is exactly how it's supposed to look, because for reasons that I won't go into, basically I had this epiphany last night, changed the whole structure this morning, and Marko was sleeping and Alberto was working, and I didn't get a chance to tell anybody. And so anyway, Marko was putting buildings in these other street blocks, and he wasn't adhering to just working in street block 1 folder, because I never told him to do that. But this still illustrates the point. So if I mute this layer now, you're going to see we're going to go back to the way things were. But if I unmute it, if you recall earlier, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but I hid the plot, whatever the plot stage.
Yeah, the street plot. Yeah.
Yep, street block stage. And so the change takes effect here. And Marko duplicated one of the buildings. I don't understand why I'm not seeing all of them. But anyway, we have captured the change. Okay, I could figure this out live. Yeah, okay. Well, something's weird there. But either case, this is the point that we're trying to get, and this is the shape of it. You know, this isn't like the detail. This is like the low resolution version of it. But basically, we can take the results of our live stream, and if everything is done in the right, top node that it's supposed to be done in, we're going to be able to see the change reflected here. And then what we can do is we can just go to the level that we need, which let's just say that, okay, yeah, everything's good, let's do it. And we can drag in the delta down into our layer. And when we do that, it's going to commit that change to our layer. And then that's what we're going to see. And I'm going to have to do a little research to find out why we're not seeing that right now with that, but whatever. I think the point is illustrated that we can capture the changes and then we can drag them down in and commit them to our layer. So, comments. Looks like we had some good comments in the chat here. Let's take a look. This is so, yes, thank you. I'm glad. Yes, I'm very glad. It is educational, and it's a ever evolving education. Wouldn't you say?
Can you see the flow? No. What I can say is, yes, we will. I want to say that about that comment about complicated is complicated, right? It is, but I think there's an opportunity here to do a little bit of demystifying USD. I think is when you put a scene like that together and you try to explain the concept is complicated, but there's an opportunity here maybe that we can do some small videos demystifying this concept and going a little bit in detail. I've been seeing some comments about this is good. I'd love to hear more. We could do that, right? And show those in a smaller pieces.
Yeah.
Peels.
And make it our goal is not have to have you learn a new language to use this. Like we can develop tools and put in guardrails to make sure that you stay in the lines and that you can work efficiently. And going through these things in a real way helps identify where that automation can be. So, but there's a gap, from here till we get there. And I think I highly recommend that you use the front end of your time to learn about USD concepts, what things mean, how to put things together, start with cubes and blocks and play with some ideas, things like that. So thanks for that, Alberto. I'm sorry if I cut you off. Did you want to?
No. That was it. There is an opportunity here to go deeper into kind of reference and layers and explain that difference in a small scene, or we can say, look, if we bring as a reference, you see, we cannot do this and this and that. If we bring it as a layer, a sub-layer, we can do this and this and that, but we need to structure this scene in a different way. And yes, I think we all want to work probably this week on this, on solving this problem that we have, right? That it's not a problem really. It's just we want to make sure that whatever we edit in the sequence, in the context, right? That's what you guys been doing, right?
Yeah.
We started with a very small set, and you came here and say, no, that's not enough, and you started populating things. That was safe in the session layer, which is a safe space, right?
Right.
All the overs that Marko and you were doing is isolated, so it doesn't break anything of what you guys have been collaborating together. Then, as you see, we save it, and the idea is we want to get that beauty and be able to load it, in the smaller pieces of the set, in a way that you can load it and say, oh, this is what I did. I added more buildings and added a couple of things and changed the variant to this one, and then you can decide it to merge it, right? And say, that's exactly what we want, or use as a reference and edit it. So the next time you load the sequence, the street block will be updated with all these changes that you agreed in this live session, right?
Yeah.
And
let me just show everyone what we're talking about. So you remember when we first started, it was a blank stage with a single building, and all these captures were changed. All these changes were captured in the live session. Now, if I leave that session, I'm going to leave it. You're going to see that the stage goes back to exactly the way it was, and I don't have any lights yet, right? So that's how we started. So again, all of those changes captured in the live session, and that's where they live until such time as you decide that they're going to be committed to their specific sublayers.
Yeah, and you should be able to bring that USD that you saved now as a sublayer of the sequence, and magically everything.
That's right. Yep, exactly.
Pops up.
Exactly.
But it's isolated because it's kind of a guidance. It says you won't want to distract everything you build. All those people have been building before you got into this session, right? And I think that is really, really cool. And brings a lot of power and control.
Absolutely. And the flexibility and the collaboration. And I think, this is what's so great about working with Marko, because he's hilarious and he's funny, but he's also highly skilled. If you go out and you watch, look at his channel, youtube.com/MarkoM3D, you're going to see all the stuff that he does. And he does some really good and funny and original comedy work. He's a hilarious guy, but bringing somebody in who's new to this and working with them and getting their feedback's also super valuable too. Yeah.
Let's just say since I've started using Omniverse and gone, hey, this kind of sucks. No, sorry. Not Omniverse sucks. I'm saying like specific elements such as I can't tell when I was in camera view and I was always moving the camera by accident. And I'm like, guys. And then like a week later, the lock camera button was introduced. I'm like, it was amazing because I stopped stuffing up constantly.
Whoops, where's Dave?
Oh no.
I'm here.
Oh,
I'm here. Sorry. Yeah, part of that getting started experience, which I think a lot of people have, is when you try to apply the old world into the new system and the roadblocks. And now, granted, it is in beta. There's still some bugs, yada, 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 et cetera. But part of that frustration, and that can be exacerbated when the system that you're working in looks like the system you used to use, but it's actually a little bit different, or a lot, depending on what you want to do. But I empathize with that frustration, and again, hitting the YouTube tutorials, watching these streams, reading articles about USD and how it's structured and why to do things a certain way is super valuable. And not only that, but once you get it, you can structure things whatever way you want. And that's part of that flexibility is you're not locked into what we're doing here. This is just an example, but you can totally structure it your own way, your own schema, your own ways of naming the files and how they work together and the combinations of payloads and layers. And the sky's the limit in terms of what you can accomplish at that point. But yeah, learning USD again, I'm just going to keep hammering on that. Really important. Okay, so we're over by 15 minutes.
Do you just want to have a quick look at the sequence that I've created so far?
I do want to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, you can go on your stream.
What camera?
No, you should be able to just turn on the sequencer. Yeah.
Okay.
So you go to the start.
Yeah. I'm with you.
And
in a position where I can.
If you go to the start of the sequence.
Okay. Yes.
Why isn't it switching camera?
Oh.
Yeah,
I don't have. Okay. I have a.
Oh, you donkey!
What happened?
I forgot to add in a create shot track.
Oh, there we go.
Hang on. Can I just copy these across now? You daft. Omniverse just crashed.
Okay. Well, yeah. So I noticed some weirdisms too in collaboration mode with the camera. But what camera should I bring in?
Well, you've got the cameras down the bottom there. So camera 1, 2, and 3.
Okay. Let's see if I can.
Does it bring in the animations as well? Because I animated the cameras.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's see. Hit it.
There it is. Yeah. So put it at the start.
Hit it. Okay. Let's toggle this guy. Toggle. Hey.
There we go.
Oh.
So it starts off with a nice high scene. Please move.
Now we got some weirdisms. Maybe that's because of this guy. See you. Bam. Camera 1. Animation data is there. Good. And sequencer. And I saw it at the beginning. I don't know what happened. That must be something with live mode. We're like internally, we're like 137 builds down the road from our last public release. So certainly this is something that has been addressed, but I can check it. And I can't leave live mode.
I just noticed my hair.
That's where it lives. Yeah, it looks amazing. It looks like you got up at 6 o'clock and jumped into a live stream right away. How else could I do this? Yeah, can't. Anyway, Marko, I'm sure it looks amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'm seeing it in my mind's eye here. And that's something with the curve editor. So we'll definitely look at that. All right. So, but if I play it now, I can see it. Toggle off of that. Where's the car? Come around the corner. There it is. Basically, this is the animation that we have. Comes around. Boom, boom, boom. It's being chased by a drone. Boom, boom. Bam, bam, bam. And then hits another corner here. And we're going to have some cool action shots of the drone swinging around the corner, knocking over this Patty Queen sign. Explosions happening and things like that. But anyway, now I'm self-conscious about the time. Oh, that's right. Shoot. I'm sorry, guys. I'm supposed to be in a meeting 18 minutes ago. Sorry.
Oops. Okay.
Yeah, my bad. All right. So thank you, guys. Thank you very much, Alberto, for all of your help. Marko, for all of your skills here. And we'll see you next week with the next iteration of this, which will hopefully be bringing an actual director in, taking the notes, and then picking those notes up in our sessions. So until then, have a great weekend, everybody.
You too. Bye.
Peace. Bye.
Adios.
Hasta luego. Ciao, ciao.
Bok.